Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've all had a restful break and a happy holiday. With the approaching of the new year, I'd like to welcome you all to the premiere of my new web series, Back to the Basics. In these videos, I will be reviewing past expansions in chronological order to find cards and ideas that you might not be familiar with to play in EDH. In this episode, we'll be looking at the very first expansion of Magic the Gathering, barring core sets, Arabian Nights. Designed by Richard Garfield himself, this set was the first, which wasn't hard if you think about it, to feature many new effects which we still see in contemporary Magic. Stealing opponents' cards, lands with effects beyond tapping for mana, and coin flicks can be seen in their earliest incarnations on various cards from this set. Arabian Nights is one of the few sets that's focused on mythos based on pre-existing real-world fiction. Just as Portal 3 Kingdoms, Arabian Nights is one of the only two expansions that does not feature a whole brand new world with new characters. Without further ado, here are a few cards I picked that I think would be interesting in EDH. First off, let's look at Aladdin. Stealing artifacts is more of a blue thing, so it's nice to see some cards before the established color pies, cans and can'ts. You lose control of the artifact once Aladdin dies, but all things considered, having a reusable effect like this can be decent in EDH. Cyclone is one of the earliest Pestilence type abilities, and in green of all things. This would be one of the first examples of cumulative upkeep, which would later be popularized in Ice Age. Guardian Beast's price has risen dramatically over the last few months, presumably due to his strong ability for protecting artifacts, and the popularity of that type of deck in EDH. He has a strong ability, and I could find a spot for him in almost any kind of Dimir or Grixis artifact controlled base decks, maybe something like Mishra. Island of Wok-Wok, although very restrictive on what it can reduce, could be an interesting addition if you see a lot of Derevi. Her ability requires damage to do the trigger, but this will not stop other creatures from triggering her, but it can help stem some of the advantage and commander damage that you'd receive otherwise. Diamond Valley is another interesting land card we get from Arabian Nights. In EDH, we love to sacrifice our creatures in order to save them from exile, draw some cards, or gain some life. Diamond Valley is the perfect example of life gain potential that some creatures can generate when they're on their way to the graveyard anyway. It's very expensive, but it has a very powerful effect. Oubliette is a mono-black Journey to Nowhere, which I've only recently learned of after it was cast on one of my creatures. This card can be difficult to fit in some lists, as black often runs enough removal to deal with most creatures, but it can be a consideration if you know an opponent runs a heavy indestructible theme. Pyramid is probably the most narrow card on this list, as its probably only one consideration is in a Noyandar Royal Shaper EDH deck. It no longer prevents lands from being destroyed since they errated the text, but rather prevents them from being destroyed from damage for 2 mana. This is very narrow, but an interesting ability nonetheless, and could possibly save one of the man lands or Inkmoth Nexus for Noyandar. Sorceress Queen is another great mono-black card from Arabian Nights. She is a great way to turn an enormous and otherwise dangerous creature into something more manageable. Cabal Ghoul is an interesting card for a Marchesa deck. His ability gives him counters at the end of every turn, which can lead to some interesting options for sacrificing him at the end of multiple, but not necessarily all turns, for incremental damage, scry, or draw. Well everybody, I hope you liked the new show, and these are my picks for Arabian Nights. Let me know in the comments any other hidden gems you found from this bizarre expansion of Magic the Gathering. And as always, thank you for watching, and please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe.